Part of the hazard communication requirements of OSHA are labeling requirements. Labels are designed to provide information on chemical contents of a substance or material and also what specific physical and health hazards they present. The manufacturer, importer, or distributor is responsible for labeling containers, but the employer must adhere to the following. Ensure all containers of chemicals in the workplace are labeled. Container labels for purchased chemicals must include the name and address of the chemical manufacturer, importer, or other responsible party. If a container is not labeled, obtain a label or the label information from the manufacturer, importer, or other responsible party, or prepare a label using information obtained from these sources. Employers are responsible for ensuring containers in the workplace are labeled. Manufacturers and companies that make chemical labels must provide standardized labels and ensure safety data sheets are compliant with a globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals standard known as GHS. Every chemical must be identified and labeled, regardless of the size of the chemical container. Employees must label portable containers into which they have dispensed a chemical. Each label will have the following information: product identifier, supplier identification, precautionary statements, hazard pictograms, signal word, hazard statement, and supplemental information. While all the information contained in a label is important, you need to make sure you have reviewed labels for all chemicals in use and have a good understanding of the precautionary statement, hazard pictograms, signal word, and hazard statement. The precautionary statement basically provides all the safety rules you should follow when using, storing, and disposing of a chemical. But one of the most important pieces of information in this section is first aid information. Always be familiar with first aid requirements of chemicals you are using. The hazard pictogram is a symbol that helps you to visually recognize potential hazards associated with a chemical. Oxidizer, flammables, self-reactives, pyrophorics, self-heating, emits flammable gas, and organic peroxides. Explosives, self-reactives, organic peroxides. Acute toxicity, severe. Corrosives, gases under pressure. Carcinogen, respiratory sensitizer, reproductive toxicity, target organ toxicity, mutagenicity, aspiration toxicity. Environmental toxicity, irritant, dermal sensitizer, acute toxicity, harmful, narcotic effects, respiratory tract irritation. The signal word provides you a single word that will help you understand quickly the possible hazards associated with the chemical. The two signal words used in labels are warning and danger. A warning indicates the chemical may have low to moderate hazards, while a danger indicates a chemical may have high to severe hazards. The hazard statement provides you a written explanation of the chemical hazards associated with the chemical and complements your understanding of the information provided to you with the pictograms and signal word. Normally, all cleaning supplies are properly labeled by the manufacturer. The most important rule about chemicals is to read, understand, and follow all instructions printed on the label. Oftentimes, manufacturers will provide additional information about the safe use of a chemical beyond what is required. Reading all parts of the label is a good rule for all chemicals and substances. Two of the most commonly labeled chemicals in the workplace are irritants and corrosives, which can cause injury to your skin, eyes, and respiratory system. Also, be aware that sometimes irritants and corrosives are referred to as caustics. Many cleaning and solvent chemicals can be either an irritant or a corrosive. Wear proper personal protective equipment or PPE is needed to avoid skin and eye contact. Make sure your work area is well ventilated or wear a respirator, if required, to avoid inhalation of chemical vapors or mist. Should you have skin or eye contact with a chemical, generally flushing with water for 15 minutes continuously will either dilute or neutralize the chemical to reduce or eliminate its adverse effect. If you have inhaled a chemical vapor or mist, Usually removing yourself from the work area to an outside area will help reduce the effects of chemical vapor or mists. If you have had accidental contact with a chemical or inhale vapors or mist, always follow the first aid instructions in the SDS. Also, if you have had physical exposure to a chemical through skin or eye contact or inhalation, it is suggested you consult with a doctor after you have received proper first aid. Also, remember to always report any harmful exposure to chemicals to your manager or supervisor. There are two other common characteristics of chemicals that can be found in your workplace. They are flammables and combustibles. But what's the difference between the two? Flammable means the chemical, such as gasoline, has a low flash point and can be ignited quite easily. Combustible means the chemical can be ignited but has a higher flash point. Just remember this: flammables can be ignited more easily than combustibles. Flammable and combustible liquids and their vapors may create health hazards from both skin and eye contact and inhalation of vapors and mist. Irritation results from the solvent action of many flammable liquids on the body's natural skin oils and tissue. Labels are extremely important with flammables and combustibles because they warn of the level of potential hazard and provide safe storage information. Again, we need to read, understand, and follow instructions printed on labels to protect ourselves from these potential hazards. A good, accurate, and up-to-date labeling system of all chemicals in the workplace will go a long way in preventing exposures to potential hazards. But on the other hand, a labeling system won't do any good if you ignore or fail to follow proper procedures. If you see a label you don't understand, or you're not sure exactly what the label says, ask your manager or supervisor. There's no reason to take chances. There are thousands and thousands of chemicals, with many more added each year. Even chemists and chemical engineers don't know all the chemicals or potential hazards of all chemicals. Just like you, they read safety data sheets, labels, and other information to keep informed. You need to keep informed and make sure all chemicals are properly identified and labeled. Can you be sure the chemical container you used yesterday will have the same chemical in it today? You won't know unless the container is properly labeled. Take labeling seriously, and that means following the directions printed on the label. It's just good business, and after all, safety and health is an important issue.